the air is abuzz with bees, marking a rare event on the slopes of the Nilgiris in southern India. The blooming of the Nila Kurunji flower, an event that is perhaps the most splendid and well known of the many life cycles that take place in the montane grasslands of the Nilgiris. Beekeepers from all over the Western Ghats have gathered here to take advantage of this once in 12 years occurrence. In 1986, over 5,500 square kilometers of continuous tracts of forests along the Western Ghats or Sahyadri Hills were granted special protection status as the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, or the NBR. India's first declared biosphere reserve, the NBR has traditionally supported not only a vast range of wildlife and plant diversity, but also several indigenous communities. This rich forest resource has offered sustainable livelihoods to many of their generations. However, in recent years, large tracts of forested hills have been exploited and land use has changed drastically.
Pesticide use is quite prevalent in the hills for both vegetable cultivation and also tea plantation. The repercussions of using these pesticides and chemical fertilizer also, it is the residual chemical washed down from the fields. Runoff water takes a lot of residual chemicals and they have to naturally find place in drinking water sources, however far it is, and that residual chemicals, in spite of treatment, would definitely find way into our food intake.
Increased commercial production and urbanization have invaded the ecological balance of the region. The irreversible impact of a greater human footprint is evident at all levels.
The main economic engine of Nilgiris is tea and tourism, as you know. But the flip side of it is that the tea and tourism is dependent on the good ecological health of the Nilgiris in terms of the high rainfall, in terms of swamps and wetlands which support all the landscapes here. But during a high tourist season, we get more than 1 lakh of visitors in a day. And some calculations have shown that per head, 250 grams of wastage is produced per head per person. So you can just make a count for 1 lakh of people per day, how much wastage that means, which goes right down into the dumps in terms of wetlands and rivers.
This has triggered microclimatic changes in the highlands, which eventually impact land and water regimes and resource use in the plains. The NBR is a vast physical, ecological and cultural complex, which brings the most forested regions of the 3 states of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka into a single entity. Although the NBR is just 0.15% of India's land area, this area alone represents 7 different forest types, ranging from the dry deciduous to the evergreen. Perhaps the most important of these are the Shola forests. Many species of plants here date back to Gondwana land, millions of years ago, giving the Sholas their name of living fossil forests. Alongside the Sholas are the montane grasslands, where harsh winds and poor soil prevail, creating dwarfed and twisted forests of slow-growing trees and grasses. This region receives good rainfall during the monsoon and has a naturally effective watershed topography. The high-altitude montane grasslands have their springs and marshes that form a network of hill wetlands. The unique Shola grassland ecology and its diverse vegetation enhances the absorption capacity of these highland marshes. The moisture and cool temperatures nourish a rich floral treasure. These wetlands are a critical sink for the rain runoff and a crucial catchment that collects and further provides fresh water to the plains of southern India, giving birth to rivers like the Kabini, Chaliyar, Moyar and the Bhavani. These provide the core life support system of the region. The NBR is home to many endemic species of the Western Ghats. The Nilgiri Tar and the Nilgiri Langur. The black and orange flycatcher, the Nilgiri laughing thrush, the Nilgiri blackbird, and the purple-rumped sunbird. It is estimated that at least 325 globally threatened species occur in the Western Ghats. They share this habitat with predators and decomposers and are part of a complex interdependent system where each one is vital for the other's survival. Even the birth of a butterfly has a story of interdependence. If even one single factor is removed, this story would not unfold. The Cycas circinalis, another endemic species, is found in the dry and wet forests of the NBR. It is also host to the plains cupid butterfly. The larva of the plains cupid rests here after gorging on the cycad leaves. The larva secretes a liquid of sugar and amino acids. Ants living on the cycad feed off this secretion and in turn protect the larvae from predators. Within a week, the butterfly emerges. Soon, it will lay its eggs in the cycad and the cycle will begin anew. The cycas also provides food and income for the forest communities. For many of them, it is a staple food in the monsoon months.
ஏன்னா அந்த கீரை ஈந்திட்டு மரத்தில் வந்து கீரை எடுத்தாலும் ஃபஸ்ட்டு 2 3 கொத்து விட்டுருவோம். அந்த இலை விட்டால் தான் எங்களுக்கு காய் வரும்.
In sections of the semi-evergreen and deciduous forests, another story of interdependence unfolds when entire tracts of bamboo flower simultaneously. This giant grass flowers only once every 60 years. A rare occurrence that turns each flowering clump into a social gathering at multiple levels. The bees and birds have already begun their feasting, while the Malabar giant squirrel braves the langur for its share. The ungulates feast cautiously, always on the alert for predators, while elephants forage fearlessly, claiming their mammoth's share. Most forest-dwelling communities, like the Adiyas, collect bamboo seeds, a rare delicacy. Bamboo is also woven into baskets and other products for their own use and for sale in markets nearby. Honeybees in the Nilgiri have an intimate relationship with indigenous people here. Each tribe has its unique technique of collecting wild honey. The Kurumbas climb steep rock faces, hanging precariously from cliffs while they harvest wild honeycombs. The Chola Naikas gather honey from honeycombs in tall trees. Some bees build their nests in the mud walls of cultivated terraced fields, and Kurichias gather their honey from here. For centuries, these forested mountains have been a rich resource base and sustenance for the communities living here. Traditional societies have adapted sustainable patterns of livelihoods woven around these resources. The innate wisdom, knowledge, and reverence for this natural wealth is passed down the generations.
Forests were, once upon a time, an inseparable part of the worldview of the indigenous people. And certainly modern times have introduced a new paradigm, and somehow or other forests became the property of what we could call the state. The kind of land revenue settlement and the demarcation of forests from the use of native peoples, it disrupted the whole process of community living. So all the traditional ritualistic practices or even the traditional rights they had over the resources found in the forest, they came under the domain of some authority beyond their control.
Land use change, fragmented habitat, and increasing urbanization, especially of unplanned tourism, have left a visible trail of human invasion in and around the NBR. Violations of environmental protection laws remain unaddressed. Rich shola forests have been exploited for timber and replaced by teak, eucalyptus, and wattle cultivations. 25 years since the declaration of the Biosphere Reserve, the pressure on this ancient but fragile ecology is undeniable. Robbed of their forest land, animals are now forced to venture closer to human settlements, resulting in conflict. The untold tragedy of the region unfolds with each passing year. The loss will go beyond the painful dispossession and alienation of indigenous communities, habitat, and wildlife of the NBR. Before the resilience runs out and the wisdom disappears, can the future of this fragile treasure be turned around?